That's the whole purpose of this show, is helping entrepreneurs gain tips, better themselves, level up. I think that's what it's all about. I've heard you say, culture. I've heard you talk about, your coach, Mark, the author of Make Big Happen. Great book, right? And a great coaching program for your business. And going back to the 5 job descriptions, you mentioned mission and vision. And you talk about culture. And one thing that I've kind of seen with, entrepreneurs being a part of organizations like EO is that kind of in the beginning, the mission and vision isn't always as important. It's kind of like, I don't need that fluffy stuff. That doesn't, you know what? I'm not into that. I don't need that kind of stuff. And, it's like number 4 here on the list. You're talking about culture, meeting employees, what's going on in the family more than what's going on at work. For the young entrepreneur or even the seasoned veteran that's trying to break that, barrier, what is mission, vision, values, culture? Why is that so important? And why is that a miss when an entrepreneur dismisses it?
Wow, great question. So look, there's all kinds of studies out there that show that companies that are high in culture perform better financially. Plain and simple. The biggest example that people point to all the most is Southwest Airlines under their now retired CEO, right? There's tons of case studies out there on that and saying that these companies that have a stronger culture perform better financially. And at the end of the day, that's what we want as entrepreneurs. One of the things we want is our business to be profitable. And so why wouldn't you have a strong culture if you know it's going to make you more profitable? But it's also just a lot more fun that way too, right? I mean, culture is hard to define, right? People often try and define culture and say, this is our culture. And they write down all these values and say, this is what we're going to be. And that's really not how culture works, right? Culture, I describe it as like when you go to the bowling alley and you have kids, you pull up those little bumpers on the side to make sure you don't get all in the gutter. That's what culture is. Culture is, we're the little bumpers on the side, bouncing our teams back into the middle to keep that culture heading in the direction we want. So you can't prescribe culture, but you can guide it. How you pay your people, how you reward your people, how you recognize your people, how you talk to your people, how you interact with your people on a daily basis or weekly basis, how you communicate with your people. One of the biggest problems that most entrepreneurs have is they just don't talk to their staff enough. And in the absence of knowledge, people will make shit up. That's going to be on my change, by the way. It's one of my favorite sayings I made myself. So you got to communicate with your staff, and all of that goes into culture. And I'll tell you, it makes a difference. Sometimes people leave the company and they'll tell me, Rich, I really hate to leave. Our culture is just so great. I feel, such a team member, but, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes it happens, but oftentimes my people stay longer because the culture is so strong. So when you have a strong culture, your employees are going to be happier, they're going to stay longer, and you're going to make more money. And those all sound like pretty good things to do if I'm an entrepreneur.